Hi all, welcome to the Monday, June 15th, or if you happen to be in other parts of the world, Tuesday, June 16th, Subproject meeting for the Azure Cloud Provider. And this is a meeting conducted under the CNCF Code of Conduct. It is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube later. I have pasted the agenda and notes document link into the chat. I think brief is a understatement for how few agenda items there are. Maybe we should talk, actually I'm going to add an agenda item for talking about how we do a better job of building an agenda and get ideas for that. Well, we can maybe start there if there aren't other things. But first, actually, let's just welcome everybody here. I actually don't know you, Shambana. Do you mind introducing yourself and let us know sort of what your interest is in the Azure Cloud Provider?
Hi, this is Shambana here. I recently started something. I have not yet contributed anywhere here. I want to contribute here, so I just joined here.
Great. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining. So feel free to ask any questions about anything that's not clear, or feel free to just
Basically, I was just going through the code, and actually, right now I'm not understanding any code flow. Actually, like where to start and all. So if you can provide me like a best place to start, any few links, so that would be helpful. I can start quickly.
So do you have a particular sort of area of interest? Are you interested in sort of virtual machine management or networks or security? It's pretty wide ranging storage. You know, there's all kinds of things handled in the cloud provider. So it'd be helpful to know sort of what your interest is.
So I interested in this cloud provider API.
Okay, so you're interested in cloud provider in general, not in how it's implemented on Azure particularly?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay, so you'll probably be better off attending the cloud provider bi-weekly call.
Yeah.
Which is general to all of the cloud providers. This one is very specific to how we adapt that cloud provider to use the Azure infrastructure as a service APIs, so VMs, networks, and storage.
Okay. So this is like how this Azure in Azure, like Azure provides a service, like Kubernetes service for that. Is it right?
So yeah, so there's a cloud controller manager, and that cloud controller manager kind of determines what needs to happen from the Kubernetes cluster configuration, and then the cloud providers then make that happen on the individual cloud infrastructures. And so there are kind of two, I don't have time to do the whole thing, but there are basically two types. There's the in-tree cloud provider, which Azure and AWS and Google and VMware had all implemented. There are then the later cloud providers that joined that are called out-of-tree cloud providers, and all of us in-tree cloud providers are in the process of moving from being in the Kubernetes tree to out-of-tree for the implementations for how we actually interface with the underlying cloud infrastructure. So I can share a couple of links if you want to send me a Slack message. I'm just Craig L. Peters. I'll share some links to like talks at the KubeCon, which are a great way to get started.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome.
So I just added an item about cloud provider. So during last few weeks, we are working together with a few teams from cloud provider sake and moving the controllers from original Kubernetes repo into a separate repo. So after this work, all the controllers from Kubernetes repo would be easily consumed from our tree cloud provider Azure. So in the future, we want to avoid vending packages from Kubernetes directly. We want to only vendor the packages from Subproject, from the repos built from staging directory.
That's a great advance. So
Yeah.
what is the state of the staging?
The PR has been merged. So next step in our tree cloud provider Azure, we could vendor that into our repo and check whether we could simplify the vendor updates in our repo.
And then simplify, sorry, what is it would simplify in this case?
Simplify vendor, the Go models updates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
and
before,
sorry, go ahead.
So because of the staging and the virtual linking in Kubernetes repo, it's very hard to do the Go mod updates today.
Through the Go mod updates, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will simplify a lot of things for maintenance for sure. Is there an issue in the backlog for updating Go mod?
It's not. So I think we could just use the original ECU to keep track this work. This is actually part of our tree cloud provider.
Okay. So
Yeah.
then you just update the description to include that work. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And also another thing we are working recently is improving the unit test coverage for cloud provider. So if you check our project board and check the down, the down panel, you could find that a lot of PRs are merged recently, including unit test coverage improvements for many Azure specific files.
Okay, I was just trying to share my screen, but I just got looks like I just updated. I can't do it while I'm running it, bummer. Everything just updated on my Mac, so I can't share my screen. Sorry
Okay.
about that. So sorry, I'm looking at the project board, and you said that there's testing.
Yeah.
Right now.
So the PRs, all the PRs, I think in the down panel, and we still have some more still working on. So when we add a new PRs, I would include that into our project board.
Okay, great. And so what is the, I guess, are any of these sort of targeted?
You mean the issues?
Yeah, are any of these issues
checking?
targeting being complete for version 1.19?
Yeah.
1.19?
Right. So we're planning to finish all the unit test work before code freeze. Especially for the test in Kubernetes repo.
Okay. That's excellent. Any questions anybody has about the?
And there's also an update from my side. Azure Disk CSI driver migration goes better in 1.19.
So Azure Disk, the migration of the driver?
CSI migration, yeah. And for the Azure file, since there's still we need to add some migration tests, so it also remains in alpha in 1.19. Yeah. And we're going to add some automated side migration test for the Azure file. And once that is done, I think it could be better in 1.20.
And you said it was tests that are required, more testing?
Yeah.
And
Mainly.
so go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, currently for the migration part, we only add some. We have only added some. I mean, there are only manual tests because there's a blocking issue. We have already fixed it in 1.19, but it's not merged in the some side class of the Azure Fire CSI plugin. So yeah, it's blocked.
Okay, blocked. And
so
what
I
is
think
being done to unblock that, I guess, is the question I have.
Yeah. When the 1.19 was released or will be released, and we will use the latest sidecar for the Azure File CSI driver, and then the migration will work, and then we will add some automation tests for the Azure File CSI driver migration feature.
Okay, so it's just waiting for that capability to be released in 1.19, and then we'll be able to unblock that work to implement the tests. Okay, got it.
Okay, and another thing is about the external registry credential provider. So there is a PR working on this cap, but there are no updates recently. So I just pinned the PR author and the cloud provider owners. I'm not sure whether this is still planned at this release.
Yeah, I was
confused. Do you know something about that?
No, I do not. I have missed the last 2 cloud provider extraction meetings, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I do not. Did you ping only in the PR, or did you also ping on Slack?
I just ping on the PR. I didn't ping on the Slack yet. So, okay. So I think originally this PR should be finished within 1.19 release cycle, right?
Yeah, and it looks like nothing has happened for several weeks.
Right.
So
no updates since March.
Yeah, if you don't hear back anything and you want me to reach out to Andy or Chef Taco, I can't remember his first name.
Yeah, so could you chat with Andrew and chat?
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, let's wait one day. And then if you don't hear anything, unfortunately, my GitHub notifications are crazy. If you could just ping me in Teams or Slack, and then I'll reach out to them during working hours here in the US.
Okay.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so.
And another thing, maybe it's not related to the cloud provider. I also started a new project under Kubernetes CSI. It's called the CSI Java SMB driver, and it's forked from the Azure File CSI driver. It's mainly focused on the more generic SMB. Because we only have the before we only have the SMB flex volume driver, and the community wants SMB more common SMB CSI driver. So I started that project, and we already released an alpha feature. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Can you add the link? Oh, you have the link there. Okay.
Yeah, I already provided a link. And it should work on both the Linux node and the Windows node. So it will not only benefit the Azure users, Microsoft products, it will also benefit the community. Yeah.
Great. Do you, to jump into that, do you have tests in any of the end-to-end tests, or how is it being tested?
Good question, because currently it's an alpha, and I have an intern and working on that, and we are going to enable actually we only have the unit test, and now we are adding the unit test, and finally we will add the end-to-end test. And I think when we have the end-to-end test, we can reach beta stage. Currently it's only alpha, and some users are already trying that.
Excellent. And so what this means is that I would be able to mount an SMB file server on a Linux host.
Yeah, it works. Also works for Azure File, because Azure File is actually SMB driver, SMB using SMB protocol. Yeah.
Okay, and what would the difference from a user perspective be between using it and the existing Azure File CSI driver?
For those users already using Azure File, I think they need to they can use Azure File driver. It's more convenient for them. But there are other users. They are using on-premise SMB server, and they can use this CSI driver. And also there are some users using on-premise Kubernetes cluster. Yeah, they cannot use Azure File. Yeah, they need to set up the SMB server, and then they can use this driver. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if distributions like
actually, I received a lot of requests from non-Microsoft users in their GitHub. Yeah, finally, I decided to start up such a project. Yeah.
Do you plan to write a blog or publicize it in any way in the Kubernetes community? Or go to Sid Storage and do a demo?
I don't have the time.
I understand. Well, maybe Ernest or I don't know, Shabana, that's an interesting thing for you to explore. I don't have to figure out what these things do. It could be an interesting way to get familiar.
Yeah. I just started this project as my part-time work. Yeah.
Congratulations, well done, and I'll actually share that with some of the other teams here that might be interested. Fantastic. So I had an agenda item that I wanted to talk about, which is actually the agenda. So one of the challenges we've had with this meeting in the past is that I haven't done a good job of driving an agenda. And we as a community have not done a good job of figuring out what we wanted to talk about before the meeting. I have lately been trying to add the agenda kind of placeholder to the notes and adding a reminder to the Azure provider Slack channel to invite people to add agenda items to it, but that has clearly not been effective. I'd like to get folks here's idea on how we build out an effective agenda for this meeting going forward. Does anybody have any thoughts they want to share on that topic? Or does it work for you guys just to be kind of ad hoc? We figure it out as we go. I mean, that's okay too. I just want to make sure that this is an effective use of all of our time.
I think one maybe issue is that actually we don't have so many work items. I mean, cloud provider Azure is currently stable, a stable project, and we mainly because we don't have so many work items, and sometimes we don't have any agenda. Yeah.
So would it be useful then? So what some of the other stable projects do is spend some of the community meeting time going through issues, like new issues that have been filed, and triaging them. And I'd be willing to kind of facilitate that if that's a useful use of time. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to make the time to do any kind of individual triage. I think it might be interesting.
Yeah,
if we did that as a group.
Yeah, I'm just exploring the Azure issues, and you could find that there are no new issues in recent 1 month. Yeah.
It depends on where you're looking. Are you looking in Kubernetes with the Azure tag, or are you looking in the Kubernetes SIG provider issues queue?
I'm using the provider Azure tag, but if you look at other tags from the KK repo, I don't think there are a lot issues.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked lately. Anybody else have any other ideas, or should we do it like, yeah, because one possibility is that we leave it scheduled every 2 weeks, and if there are no agenda items, then I just cancel the meeting. And we can rely on the Slack channel and email distribution list to resolve issues. I know another is to keep it as it is. We make up an agenda ad hoc as we meet. A third would be if I could magically carve out a couple of hours of my time to understand what's going on at the given time and make a concrete agenda ahead of time. That would be the third one. What do people think? Would anybody have? It kind of sounds from the sort of, I guess, from the quietness,
I agree.
that
Let's
just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. We can first fill in the agenda before this meeting happens, and if there's no agenda, I think we can skip the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds. So you've seconded that approach. Pei, do you have a strong opinion?
I agree with both of you. So I think we could try to figure out the agenda before the meeting, and then decide whether we want to cancel, or if there are no idea to talk about.
Okay. Ernest, do you have any objection to that, or Shambana?
That sounds good.
Okay. So I'll continue to prompt in the Slack channel for agenda items, and then 2 weeks from now, if let's see, 1 day beforehand, if there are no agenda items, then I'll cancel the meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll make that decision. Actually, I probably end up not being 1 day before, because that's on a Sunday here. I probably figure that out on the Monday morning when I get into the office, to my computer working. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We'll do that. Okay. Any other open items anybody wants to bring up around Azure Cloud Provider? Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for coming. I will post the recording by tomorrow. And have a great day there in China. And Shambana, I'm not sure where you are, but we'll have a nice evening, Ernest and I.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.